What's up, everybody? This is Warhawk Beyond 2040 in the house, bringing to you another edition of the Arrow Season 8 review series, and I've just finished watching episode 6 entitled Reset, which saw the return of Paul Blackthorne reprising his role once again as Quinton Lance, and I have to say that I really enjoyed this episode a lot. It was really great to see Quinton Lance back. It was like he never left, and there was some nice shout outs to previous seasons, and this was kind of like the Arrowverse's attempt at Groundhog Day, so to speak, where every day Oliver is waking up, reliving and repeating the same day of his life over and over. So this was a bit head jarring at times, but a very fun and enjoyable episode, which really lays the groundwork even more for not only Oliver's big role in the Crisis event, but the Crisis itself. So overall, I really enjoyed this episode a lot, and I would definitely put this one as one of the standouts of Season 8, and it was a lot of fun, and it was also great to see Oliver and Laurel in their full Green Arrow and Black Canary costumes actually get to work together just as the two of them, which kind of reminded me a lot of the classic Black Canary and Green Arrow team-up comic books. So this was definitely very welcomed, and it was a lot of fun. It was great to see Stephen Amell and Katie Cassidy bounce off of one another, and they've got really great chemistry, and I'm really glad we got to see that explored here once again. Now, we all remember at the end of last week's episode, we saw Lila Michaels reveal herself to be working with the Monitor, which led to Oliver, John and Laurel being tranquilised on the rooftop. Now, I thought that Reset episode we was kind of going to see what happened after that, but they pretty much gloss over all of those events. So this episode starts off with Oliver waking up on his couch in his apartment, and we see Mia, Connor and William walk in, and they're very surprised to see him, and they say to him that, don't you have a charity event to go to? And Oliver, of course, is very confused about how he ended up here, and he asks them, how did I get here? I was just on the rooftop last night. What happened? And they look at him very, very confused, like, Dad, what's going on? You know, you're going to be late. So Oliver heads off to his fundraising event, and he sees Quinton Lance is alive and well and as the mayor, and he sees John Diggle and he sees Lila, and with no recollection of what exactly happened in the previous episode. So you can clearly tell that in this episode some things are a little bit off and some things are just not quite what they seem, but only Oliver and Laurel seem to be the only ones that are aware that something is not right. We also learn in this alternate timeline, Quinton Lance was shot by Diaz, but the difference in this timeline, unlike the original timeline, Diaz did shoot Quinton Lance, but Quinton Lance survived being shot. So you can clearly see that this is kind of a very different take on various different events, and Oliver says to Quinton that I seem to remember things a little bit differently. Renee interrupts their conversation and says there's an issue at the police station and you all need to get down there, and Quinton says, well, you better suit up, Oliver, we're going to need the Green Arrow for this one. So they go to the police station. Quinton Lance goes in unarmed and willing to negotiate with these criminals, and Green Arrow comes in. Quinton distracts him. Green Arrow arrives to save the day, and just when he gets there too late, the bomb goes off and boom, Oliver wakes up back in his apartment all over again and restarts the whole day. So this is clearly some sort of weird test that is put together by the Monitor, but we don't actually learn about that until a little bit later on. So Oliver wakes up exactly as he did at the beginning. He remembers things a little bit differently, and he heads to the party and he goes to meet Diggle, and he says to Diggle that I'm in a time loop and I've been here before and I know exactly what's going to happen. There is a bomb at the police station and we've got to disarm it before Quentin Lance dies. And Diggle says, well, after everything that's happened, it wouldn't surprise me. So they go to see Quentin Lance to warn him about what's happened. And Quentin Lance says, well, look, different versions of my daughter, a guy running around in red, reversing time, I'm not surprised about this. And Laura also learns that she is also trapped in this time loop, so to speak. So they attempt to work together to try and set things right. They manage to disarm the bomb, but once again they're too late, and Oliver again wakes up in his apartment. This started off really okay, but it does get a little bit head jarring, so to speak. I mean, it was a lot of fun seeing the Arrowverse's attempt at Groundhog Day, but at the same time it did jar my head a bit. I was like, oh my god, are we actually going to get a payoff to this? Because it did feel like it dragged on a little bit, but I do believe that everything has a good payoff, and I believe everything is done for a reason. So obviously the test is very clear that to Oliver and Laurel that they have to save Quentin Lance. So we think anyway. So as Laurel leaves, she bumps into Lila, and obviously Laura remembering what happened the last time they met, and she says that I'm going to expose you to everyone once this time loop is over. Oliver goes to try to defuse the bomb, and Diggle goes to talk to him, and Oliver tells him about the time loop again, but it turns out this time the bomb isn't the key to solving this test, so to speak. Diggle gives him one of his classic pep talks that we all know and love, and says that, well, maybe I can help you get in with a little bit of help from Argos. So it's good to see that doesn't matter what timeline we're in, Diggle always has Oliver's back, and that's one of the best things I've always loved about the show, is Diggle is a true friend, and I'd love to have a friend like him. I mean, he's awesome, and he's probably my second favourite character after Oliver. I mean, he's awesome. Love the guy. He's the man. We get a really nice scene with Laura and Quentin, where Laura explains to Quentin that in my reality, Diaz shot you, and Quentin says, yeah, I know, but I survived, right? And she gets very emotional and says, no, in my reality, Diaz shot you and you never made it. So we got a really nice emotional scene with them two. And the thing with Katie Cassidy and Paul Blackthorne is that they've had so much history on the show, going all the way back to season 1, and we've seen so many different twists and turns with these two, and I really enjoyed all their scenes together as father and daughter, even if the daughter is various different versions of that character. But I really, really enjoyed watching these two together, and the way they perform, it really feels like they are father and daughter at times. That's how good they are in these roles, and seeing these two having yet another emotional scene just reminded me why these guys are these characters and why they've been these characters for so long. And with the show coming to an end, I mean, even I got a little bit emotional because we saw Laurel, the original one, die in season 4. We've seen Quentin die in season 6. So there's been so much stuff happened, and having to see her quote-unquote father die over again does really hit home in a lot of places. So this scene was definitely one of my all-time favourites in this episode, and it was really emotional, and I really enjoyed this one a lot. So shortly after, Oliver then informs Quentin and Laurel that he's found the mercenaries' hideout, and they go to assist him, and it turns out to be nothing more than a trap. And Lila shows up, and she informs Oliver that you're missing the whole point of this. You cannot stop this, and you cannot stop things from happening, and shoots Quentin, and then boom, we're back to where we started at the beginning of the episode. Oliver wakes up in his apartment on the couch. So it's clearly to me that this is all a test. So he goes to the party, but he doesn't see Lila this time, and meets with Laura and says they have to figure out how they're going to get out of this. And Oliver is trying to figure out how to stop this from all happening, and he sorts out that this time loop is nothing more than a test from the Monitor. So they go to the Mercs hideout and they disable the bomb, and then do the next step of their investigation to finding out who exactly wants Quincy dead. This leads them to a building where Quincy is shot, and Quincy has a very tearful moment with Laurel, telling her that he is the reason she's going to become a better person, and she tells him that I never really got a chance to say goodbye properly, and I never really got to tell you how much you mean to me. So this was again another top-notch scene with these two, and she gets a chance to say goodbye and Laurel's time loop stops. So it looks like the whole point of this test, it seems, is to accept things how they are, and no matter how hard you try, you cannot change things. So this is kind of a very interesting test, not just for Oliver, but for Laurel as well. We then learn that Oliver's time loop still hasn't ended yet, and Lila comes to meet him and tells him that the Monitor wants him to learn his lesson, that things are inevitable and he can't fight his fate. And Oliver says, but how can you keep such a secret like this from me, from Diggle, from everyone? He goes, you betrayed us all for years. And she says that I haven't betrayed anyone. I know what I'm doing. We're trying to help save the universe, and that we need your help and we need you to be prepared for the upcoming crisis that's coming. Lila then informs Oliver that you are our best chance in surviving this, and every mission that the Monitor has put you on has been part of a test to prepare you for the upcoming crisis which threatens to destroy everything. So at least now we know what this time loop has been really all about all along. So after that, Oliver wakes up back in his apartment and he does things completely different. He tells them that he appreciates his children, and he tells them how proud he is of them. And at the party he goes to meet Quincy and they have a moment, and Oliver thanks Quincy for everything, and he then says goodbye. And then he meets with Lila, who reveals that he finally understands that he can't change his fate. And shortly after that, the time loop finally ends and him and Laura wake up, this time in the correct timeline, but they wake up in some sort of tent. And Laurel says that it looks like that was a gift from the Monitor, me having one last moment with my dad and a reward for not betraying Oliver. And Oliver says that my lesson was to learn that I can't change my fate, nor should I fight it. So they both get out of the tent and they see that they're not in Star City, and that they see Diggle, William, Connor and Mia are all together, and they're on Lian Yu, which is the island where Oliver spent 5 years of his life after his boat crashed. And that's pretty much how this episode ends. So overall, fantastic episode from start to finish. A little bit head jarring at times, but I really enjoyed this one a lot. This was definitely one of the standouts of season 8, and I'm really looking forward to next week's episode. Maybe we might see the new Deathstroke gang take on Team Arrow, who knows, but it's really got me pumped up for next week's episode. So I'm going to leave this here for you guys. What did you think of this week's episode? Did you think it was good? Was there anything you didn't like? Was there anything you did like? Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see you all next time for another edition of the Arrow Season 8 review series. So till then, take care everybody.